Hello guys, welcome back to our YouTube channel. In this video we are gonna see, what if Naruto got harem with the dragon maid? Part 1. Huge shout out to Filthy Casual 543 for this story. If you want more awesome fan fiction like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So without wasting any time, let's get into the video. Why? It wasn't supposed to turn out like this, everyone should have been free, Super Gramps said so. So then why did he just absorb the god tree and everyone attached to it? Did he do the hand seal wrong? No, he was a slow learner, but he'd defiantly remember what it took to save everybody. So then why? This isn't what he sacrificed himself for, what they sacrificed themselves for. But now it was all over, no one was left, he was alone. With nothing left to do, he flew around the elemental countries collecting all he could and sealing it away. Nobody was here to use it anyway. Thanks to everyone's absorption, he had knowledge of many new things, learned secrets he wasn't meant to know, and had memories that weren't his. Using this newfound knowledge, he went to every single village and took their secrets. He was the last shinobi after all. From the Hidden Leaf to Cloud and even Orochimaru's still hidden bases. All was taken and sealed away. Well, that's the last of it, might as well find somewhere else to live. Heck, I might even revive the shinobi way wherever I end up. Nah, that didn't go so well the first time when Super Gramps did it. Oh well, here goes nothing. With a sigh he mutters two words. Yamatsu Hirasaka. Thus the legacy of the shinobi disappears from the world. Never to be seen again. Tokyo Forest. Hurt. That's all he could feel, from the bottom of his feet to the top of his head, he hurt all over. Okay, so maybe trying out a space-time ninjutsu that tears the fabric of reality from an absorbed memory alone wasn't such a clever idea. Oh, he's passing out, that's not good. Hahaha. Naruto turns head to the right to see a teenage girl, no, a woman laughing in the woods with a bottle in her hands. Oh, is that a hunk in the middle of the woods? Dreams do come true, hahaha. She is obviously drunk if her way of talking and walking was anything to go by. She proceeds to sit on the ground next to his prone form and leans in closely to get a better look. Oi, are those whiskers real? You look like a fox. Hahaha. Not seeing any harm in talking with this strange woman, he answers her. Yup, had them since I was born, they're birthmarks of a sort. Well, he obviously couldn't tell her that he got them from basically marinating in a demonic nine-tailed fox's chakra when he was still in his mom's womb. Is that so? Well, they definitely make you look cute, she says with a smirk, then reaches out and pets one of his cheeks. What are you doing? He stutters trying to get away, but curses when he realizes he can't move due to his body still hurting and being tired from using the dimension hopping jutsu for the first time. Mama, don't be so uptight, just checking if they're actually real. She smiles even wider when Hufsen looks away from her with red on his cheeks. The name's Kobayashi, by the way, second year at Tokyo University. You? Naruto Uzumaki, hunk from the woods, he replies with a smirk, and she begins laughing again. You know what, Naruto? How about you come to Tokyo University with me? God knows I need a friend, she trails off with a small smile. I'm sure, why not, I got nothing better to do anyway, and I'd love to be your friend Kobayashi, he says with a bright smile. That sounds great. But. She pauses, yawning, let's talk more about that in the morning. Getting sleepy, she decides to cuddle up to Naruto's side and gets a startled huff from Naruto in return. It's cold and you're warm, so suck it up and be a man, unless, she looks up at him with a grin, you've never had a girl on you before, huh? When all she receives is a scoff from Naruto, her grin gets even wider. I didn't hear a no. Just shut up and go to sleep, he huffs. Kobayashi giggles and snuggles even deeper into him and eventually falls asleep, producing a small snore. What did I just get myself into, he says with an exasperated sigh, but when he looks down and see Kobayashi sleeping, he smiles. This might not be so bad after all. He looks up at the night sky before finally succumbing to sleep as well. Next day. Wow, my bed is really warm this morning, makes me want to sleep in, Kobayashi mutters sleepily as she gets in closer. Well, if you're going to sleep longer, I'm not gonna stop you. Kobayashi freezes and robotically looks toward the voice to see the same person from the dream she had last night. Oh god. So, hunk from the woods, huh? He asks with a raised eyebrow and a smug look on his face. Kobayashi moves away from the man faster than she ever has, before causing him to chuckle as he sits up. Wah, who are you, where am I? She asks as last night's events run through her mind and, to her relief, she realizes they didn't have sex last night, that's good at least. Well, I'm Naruto Uzumaki, and you found me here in the woods last night after you apparently went on a bender, he says with a slight laugh, seeing her get embarrassed. Looking at him without the haze of alcohol clouding her vision, she was at least pleased to know that he was indeed a hunk, with wild and spiky bright blonde, almost yellow, hair that has two bangs that frame either side of his face, clear blue eyes, and not to mention the whisker marks on his cheeks. She would have mistaken him for an American, if not for his perfect Japanese. While Kobayashi is looking over Naruto, he does the same with her. The first thing he notices is her bright red hair like those from his clan, pulled into a ponytail and hazel brown eyes that kind of remind him of a dead fish. "It's nice to meet you while sober, Naruto. My name is Kobayashi," says with a tiny smile on her face. "I noticed that last night too. Do you not have a last name?" He questions her with a slight tilt of his head and squinted eyes, making him look even more like a fox than before. Holding down her blush at how cute he looks, she replies, yes I do, it's just kind of embarrassing, so I just tell everyone to call me by my last name instead." "Oh?" he asked, gaining a smile. "Are you gonna tell me it?" He puts on the most innocent and cute face he can. "Pretty please." Kobayashi, sporting a full blush now, stammers, "Maybe later, anyway I gotta get to class." She trails off and looks at her wristwatch, noticing she missed her class by 2 hours. "Fuck. What's wrong?" Naruto asks, seeing a depressed aura around Kobayashi. "I missed my classes for today." "Ah well, might as well take you to get enrolled. Got nothing else to do, and it's the middle of the semester, so you'll have to wait till the next one starts," she says as she looks toward him. "Ooh, oh, sounds fun, let's do it," he says as he pumps his fist into the air, gaining a smile from his new friend. "Wait a minute, I've been meaning to ask. What's the deal with your clothes? You a cosplayer or something?" "Cosplayer? No, I'm a ninja," he says with a huge grin on his face. "Eh?" was Kobayashi's elegant reply. Tokyo University. Naruto and Kobayashi are seen walking out of the admissions office after sending in Naruto's transcript. On their walk to the university, it was decided that Naruto should get a new wardrobe since a torn orange jumpsuit tends to stick out. Now wearing an orange hoodie, black pants and tennis shoes. "Sorry that took so long, this place has always had bad customer service, they are always slow. Hopefully we hear back from them soon." "Nah, it's cool, I have a feeling I'll make it in time." Now it may be a wonder how Naruto has a transcript to send in when he has only been in this dimension for a day. In the morning, while Kobayashi was still sleeping, he decided to send shadow clones out under different transformations to find out what he could of the world. Through this he learned that he at least needed an ID and to graduate from high school in order to go to the same school as Kobayashi. So, how did he get the necessary items? 2 words. Sharingan Jinjutsu. Using this aspect of the Dijutsu, he was able to convince all the government workers that he's been living in Japan all his life and was a good student throughout high school, which reflected on his transcript. Honestly, it was a bit too easy. No wonder Itachi was so goddamn overpowered. "What was that?" Kobayashi asked, not fully hearing what Naruto said under his breath. I said I was really tired and was wondering where I would stay since I don't really feel like sleeping in the forest anymore he replies with a nervous chuckle in order to hide what he said about Itachi. Kobayashi just squints her eyes and stares at him. Sure, anyways you could just crash at my place till you get a place of your own." Naruto raises an eyebrow at her. "Oh? You just met me last night and you already want me to move in with you? How forward and daring. If you want me to sleep in bed with you so bad you just have to ask," he says as he puts a finger under her chin to make her eyes meet his. Kobayashi's cheeks immediately flush and she backs away from him. "That's not it," she stutters out as Naruto's amused chuckling turns into full-blown laughter. Hearing this, Kobayashi pouts and says, smirking, "Well, just for that you're definitely sleeping on the couch." Naruto stops immediately. "Now hold on, no need to be hasty, we're both friends, right? You wouldn't leave me on the cold and lonely couch, would you?" Kobayashi's smirk just grows as she turns and walks off and Naruto runs to catch up with her in order to convince her otherwise. 2 months later. Naruto settled into Tokyo just fine, even managing to land a job at a nearby ramen stand as a cook. Living on your own your whole life along with an addiction to ramen could make anyone into a great ramen chef. He even managed to get into Tokyo University, but unfortunately since he applied so late, he would have to wait another semester to join classes. Another thing that changed in these 2 months were the feelings that he and Kobayashi developed for each other. It started off as just a shared curiosity between the two of them, neither of them having any previous experience in the subject, but as time went on it kept growing. It all finally came to a head one night when Kobayashi got drunk again after going out with Naruto to celebrate him getting into university. Drunk Kobayashi made it quite obvious that she had feelings for him and Naruto, confessing that he had fell for her as well, leading to the two sharing their first kiss and a very embarrassed but happy Kobayashi in the morning. The college semester just ended and they have been dating for a month now. They are currently huddled together under a blanket and laying down on the couch watching a movie when an explicit scene comes on. Both blush seeing the actors on screen go at it and Kobayashi's face goes full atomic when she feels something hard against her butt. It definitely hasn't been the first time she's felt Naruto's arousal against her, it happening whenever she was the first to get up to go to her morning classes, but this time was the first both were truly awake for. Feeling like there was nothing to lose, she pushes herself back against it. Naruto stiffens when he feels Kobayashi purposely push up against his length, and he looks down at her, only seeing the back of her head. Then she starts grinding herself against him, leading him to gasp as he gets harder and harder. "Kobayashi," Naruto stutters out. "Ko." Naruto beeps his head to the side so he can hear her clearly. "What was that?" Kobayashi turns and looks at him with slight want in her eyes and a blush on her face. "My name. It's Maiko. Lemon happened. Will you let me get something so we can clean you up," he says, out of breath, and gets up to get some paper towels from the kitchen, only to come back and see Kobayashi in the process of licking his thumb off her finger. "Wah," he mumbles out, not believing what he's seeing. "You know, I expected it to taste bad like I overheard from the girls talking in class, but this is surprisingly good and sweet." "Huh, weird," Kobayashi says more to herself than out loud. Meanwhile, Naruto's mind temporarily shuts down at the sight, but sighs instead. "You know, I guess I didn't need the paper towels anyway." He then sets them down on the coffee table and lays next to Kobayashi and gains an impish smile on his face. "No kids yet, huh?" he says in a teasing tone to a now blushing Kobayashi. "Shut up," she mutters, snuggling into his side, letting silence reign for a few minutes. Suddenly Naruto speaks up. "Maiko, I haven't been completely honest with you about who I am and where I came from." She looks up at him and gives him a quizzical look. "What do you mean? Remember when I said I was a ninja?" She nods her head slowly. "I wasn't telling a joke." Kobayashi starts giggling and bursts out laughing. "That's funny, is that your own version of pillow talk?" Naruto just sighs and puts his hands in an all too familiar seal, shadow clone jutsu, and another Naruto appears standing next to the coffee table. Was all she could say. Thus began a long-winded explanation of where he came from and how he got to that forest outside of Tokyo. Wait, so you mean to tell me this all happened because a goddess, who you are descended from, decided to take back everyone's life force, or chakra as you put it, and you and your team were the only ones who could stop her. She killed them, but not before they transferred their chakra to you. You finally killed her, took her chakra and memories. But that had the side effect of also absorbing the consciousness of the tailed beasts inside of you. Then you left to undo the illusion put on your world by her, only for it to go wrong. You end up absorbing everyone's chakra and memories instead." She asks incredulously. "Yup, that's about right," he replies with a smile. "Oh, don't forget I took all scrolls and ninja tools from my world too," he reminds as his clone unseals Zabu's executioner's blade. Kobayashi looks at the huge butcher knife warily. But why are you telling me all this now?" Naruto sighs and looks into her eyes. "Because I care for you, and our relationship just took a huge step, and I didn't want to hide this from you any longer." The Redeed just smiles and asks, "Well, Mr. Ninja, what else can you do?" The last shinobi just plasters on a large grin and says, "Get dressed in something comfortable and I'll show you," while putting on his own shirt and loose pants. Kobayashi comes out of their shared room 5 minutes later with a green hoodie and tan pants with black socks and tennis shoes. "Alright, what did you want to show me?" Immediately Naruto looks as if he catches on fire as his clothes change to that of a Haori with flames dancing on it, as well as his hair looking like a golden flame waving on his head. The last thing she notices is that his eyes change from sky blue to yellow, with what seems to be a cross-shaped pupil. "This is my Sage of Six Paths chakra cloak, and I'm about to show you the best view not even money can buy." He stretches out his hand for him to take, and tentatively she does. Faster than she can comprehend, he picks her up in a bridal carry and flies out of their open apartment window, making sure to hide them under a game jutsu so they aren't discovered. Kobayashi shuts her eyes and holds onto him tightly as she feels them get higher and higher. "You can open your eyes now." As she did so and blinking the fogginess out of them, she is greeted by a beautiful sight, the Tokyo skyline lit up late at night. "Whoa, this is amazing," she whispers under her breath in wonder, catching the attention of Naruto. "Yeah, I'm glad I'm finally able to show you this view. It's always better to see it with someone else," he says with a small smile. "Well, good, cause I'm going to want to come out and see this again after this," she says as she looks up at him with a grin on her face. He looks down at her, giving her a view of his mesmerizing new eyes again. "Of course, we got our whole lives ahead of us anyway." She holds herself closer to him and stares back at the breathtaking view. "Yay, you're right." 5 years later. A very drunk redeeded woman in an open brown coat, white dress shirt, yellow tie, dark blue pants, brown shoes and glasses with a slightly tipsy blonde-haired man that wears a white dress shirt with the top 2 buttons undone and the shirt untucked, black pants and black dress shoes are walking, or stumbling in the woman's case, to a clearing in the forest. "It was here, wasn't it?" the man says with a fond smile on his face. "Hard to believe it's been 5 years since then, huh, Kobayashi?" "Heck, was it?" the woman mumbles and the man just sighs. "Geez, you really went all out tonight, didn't you?" He chuckles as she immediately wraps her arms around him. "Of course. It's been 5 years since me and my super awesome ninja Naru met, it's a day for getting wasted in celebration. She shouts to the high heavens, and now me and you are gonna have some fun right here right now, she purrs with a seductive look on her face. Oh Maiko, so naughty wanting to do it in the middle of the forest like we're teenagers trying not to get caught, he whispers in her ear, causing a shudder to go up her spine. Just shut up and fuck me you she was saying, but was cut off by a deep and booming voice. I would appreciate it if you humans did not mate in front of me like a pair of rabbits. Both Naruto and Kobayashi slowly turn towards the voice, and they both utter at the same time. Is that a fucking dragon? The two adults could only look up and gape at the red-eyed green giant they were about to have sex on top of. I told you so, Kobayashi curses under her breath at what she hears Naruto say, and proceeds to pull out 2,000 yen. DCH, whatever she grumbles, of course you won the bet, when don't you? She rants to herself as she grinds her teeth, and Naruto accepts the money with a smug smirk on his face. Both have changed over the last 5 years, more so Naruto since he decided to let his hair grow long enough to reach his lower back, which he usually keeps tied in a ponytail. Kobayashi however hasn't changed in appearance much, the only difference is her hips getting wider and her thighs getting thicker. Don't be such a sore loser, it's not my fault your luck is so bad, he replies, sticking his tongue out at her, and then gains a wicked smirk, but you know what? He says as he gets closer to her, grabbing her by the hips and almost making their lips touch, how about I make you feel very lucky right now? He leans in and whispers in her ear, you'd like that wouldn't you Maiko Uzumaki? Kobayashi shudders, this always happens anytime she hears him say her name, it gets so her wet, and just hearing the last name he gave her when they married a little over a year ago, nearly makes her fum right then. Oh god how she wants him to push her up against a tree, rip her clothes off and… Ahem. God damn it. She mentally screams. Boy dragon. Can't you see I'm trying to get beat down to hell and back by my hunk of a husband? Her outburst visually shocks the giant beast, while Naruto just facepalms. Well I'm sorry, but could you perhaps do it somewhere else as I am currently dying from this sword in my side, it gestures to the blade, and Kobayashi stomps over to the dragon and starts to climb on her back. Naruto is honestly surprised he hadn't noticed the huge blade before, and it's giving off a strangely familiar aura, almost like his, well after he absorbed Kagaya's chakra. Shit, Kobayashi don't eh? The reason for the lack of words from both Naruto and the dragon is that a very drunk Kobayashi clambered on top of the wounded dragon and pulled out the godly weapon surprising ease. There. Now you can head back and me and my Naru can have some fun she says not bothering to hide the leer she is sending Naruto's way while Naruto and the dragon just sweat drop. I am not sure how you were able to do that, but you have my eternal gratitude, as the dragon is talking and bowing its head Kobayashi cuts it off. Yay whatever wait a minute. You're a dragon ain't ya? She exclaims loudly, we're you bound down? Show some pride damn it. Sorry, but you did save my life, the dragon stutters out to the raving retarded woman. Don't mind her, Naruto suddenly speaks up from beside the dragon examining the sword that Kobayashi just pulled out from its side, when she's drunk like this her personality does a full 180. The dragon looks at Naruto warily, who are you, Deus? Naruto then picks up the sword and gives it a few test swings. Sorry, my name's Naruto Uzumaki and I'm married to that raving drunkard over there, he says casually pointing the huge sword in Kobayashi's direction. Boy stud. If you're gonna point a sword in my direction, it better be the one that's in your pants. His wife yells back with absolutely no shame in her voice, making Naruto sigh in embarrassment. Like I said before, don't mind her. He then looks at her still bleeding side. Here, let me close that wound up, it looks like that blade got you pretty deep. Human methods of healing won't work on a wound dealt by the sword of God, unless you know how to purge the holy magic from the wound it won't close, it explains to him as he walks closer to the wound and hold his hand up revealing a white circle on his palm. Don't worry about that, this ain't my first rodeo with godly beings and wounds caused by them. He then puts his hand on the wound and begins to suck in the godly energy keeping the wound from closing. When the energy is fully absorbed, he injects healing chakra into the wound to close it. There, you should be all good now. Thank you, both of you. I thought today would be my last. The dragon bows once again. It's really no problem, me and Kobayashi are happy to hell. The conversation is suddenly cut off by his wife when she sits down right in front of the dragon and sets down a bottle of her favorite brand of sake, Dragon Slayer. Alright. In celebration of you surviving we're gonna drink till we pass out, she says with a huge grin on her face. I don't know, the dragon stutters out looking a little apprehensive. Naruto just sighs and sits next to his wife. There's no use arguing with her when she gets like this, especially when she's this sloshed. Well okay then, even though I don't really like using this magic, the green beast mutters to itself as it starts to glow and slowly change shape, revealing a blonde-haired girl with red highlights at the ends that goes down to her lower back, red-orange eyes with slits for pupils, wearing only a brown tattered cloak, tan horns sticking out from the sides of her head and a green tail. Okay, that was not what I was expecting, Naruto says to himself. You wanna have a threesome? Kobayashi suddenly blurts out, causing the now revealed dragon girl to blush and Naruto to grab her ear, as if scolding a child. That should not be the first thing you say when meeting someone, Kobayashi. Naruto then twists her ear to get the point across. Oh, Kobayashi complains, no need to be so uptight about it, she does kinda remind me of your Naruto transformation though, she says with a goofy smile and a nosebleed. We should totally do that again, it was fun. Naruto just sweat drops at her as he finally lets go of her ear. You're incorrigible, you know that, he sighs again, then looks at the dragon girl. Lem, get some clothes for you at least. He pulls out a scroll. It's the uniform for the cafe I own, so hopefully it'll fit you. Then in a puff of smoke that surprises her, he has the uniform in hand and passes it over so she can get dressed. When she comes back from changing, she is wearing a sleeveless white shirt with a blue tie, a black skirt that ends above the knees, brown shoes, a black arm sleeves that end after her elbows with white gloves on her hands, a white bonnet on her head, with her hair tied back into a single ponytail. He also notices that while her dragon tail is hidden, her horns are on full display. Ah well, people will just think she's a cosplayer. Naruto idly thinks to himself. Ooh, that's what I'm talking about, maids are the best. Kobayashi says aloud with glee, looking their new friend up and down with a grin on her face and a double nosebleed. She then turns to Naruto, you Casanova you. You tryna get her into your bed dressing her like that? She says slyly while moving her eyebrows up and down suggestively, not that I mind as long as there's room for me. Haha hick. He once again sighs at the antics of his wife, weren't we going to drink until we pass out, let's leave talk about threesomes with random dragons when you're sober, okay? Whatever, anyway, let's drink the night away. She fills up a saucer with the alcohol she brought and gives it to the dragon. You first, dragon girl. My name is Toru. Ah whatever. The now named Toru takes the saucer from Kobayashi's hand and downs it in one go. Kobayashi immediately lights up. Whoa, did you see that, Naru? She downed that like a champ. She exclaims while laughing out loud. Naruto, who is also surprised at how easily Toru drank it, gains a smug smirk and says, maybe I can finally have someone who can drink as long as me, unlike a certain someone who always passes out so early. His smirk only widens when he sees the clear annoyance on the Redeed's face. Ah, you asshole. You're lucky I love you, and that lady killer you got tucked in your pants, hick, just watch him outlast you this time, she says to him defiantly, and then abruptly turns to Toru. Alright girly me, and you are gonna drink him under the table, are you with me? She shouts with her fist pumped in the air. I'll do my best. She says with determination in her eyes. A few hours later. Kobayashi is currently passed out leaning on Naruto's side, snoring lightly, and Naruto looks up at the sky with a saucer in his hand and a small smile on his face. You know, it was in this exact spot she found me 5 years ago, he says to a tipsy Toru. I had just left my homeworld, since there was nothing left for me there, and here I see some random drunk woman stumbling through the forest, he says with a small chuckle. So, you really aren't from this world, I knew something felt different about you, Toru says looking at him, your aura, it's almost like God from my realm. Yay, I guess you could say I ascended or whatever, but frankly, I'm glad I left and met Kobayashi, who knows how things would have turned out, he says looking down and smiling at his sleeping wife. That sounds really nice, Toru trails off, looking down at the ground. Do you want to go back? Naruto suddenly asks, to your home I mean. Not really, the god that nearly killed me would definitely be on the lookout for me, but I have nowhere else to go, she says looking up to the clear night sky. How about you come live with us? He says, not noticing Kobayashi waking up. Toru is stunned by the offer, but then she starts to tear up while smiling brightly. I will. Hearing this, Kobayashi springs up and grabs Toru's shoulders with a small line of drool coming from her mouth and a large smile on her face, then be our maid. Ah, and the moment's ruined, Naruto says with a chuckle at Kobayashi's outburst, while Toru just looks confused. Listen up. Maids aren't just simple house servants, they originally had names based on their role, such as a housemaid or a laundry maid, plus there's the training they had to go through, unlike cafe maids. Ah, she stops herself as she looks at a clearly amused Naruto. No offense, Naru. Anyway, Toru, it's not like I'm rejecting maid cafes or anything, they're nice in their own way. Kobayashi suddenly stops and holds out her hand for Toru to shake. My name is Maiko Uzumaki, but everyone calls me Kobayashi. Toru reaches out and shakes her hand with a smile and repeats her name again, I'm Toru. Naruto couldn't help but smile at the scene, while Kobayashi resumed the rant about maid she was having before. She always gets like this whenever anything maid related is brought up. Well, with Toru here I can't help but wonder just how interesting things will get, he thinks to himself as he goes back to stargazing. Naruto and Kobayashi's apartment. Alrighty, Toru, you can stay in the guest room across from ours, Naruto says, adjusting a heavily inebriated Kobayashi to sit more comfortably on his back. Like, yeah, that way I can easily call you over to satiate this hung stud's infinite stamina, if you know what I mean, Kobayashi says with a giddy smile on her face, causing Toru to blush hard and rub her thighs together. I've never laid with a man before, but if Kobayashi insists, she begins to say as her blush gets brighter and brighter. Okay. Conversation for tomorrow. Good night, Toru. Naruto then takes his laughing wife into the master bedroom and quickly closes the door behind them. Once inside he turns to look at Kobayashi. Alright, what was that all about? He asks as he gently takes Kobayashi off his back and lays her on the bed. Why were you so insistent on Toru joining us in bed? Kobayashi starts to undress by undoing her ponytail, sliding her glasses off her face, placing it on the end table, taking off her already loose tie, unbuttoning her white dress shirt to reveal a black sports bra on her chest that never seems to grow, and finally taking off her pants to reveal her deceptively wide hips and thick thighs that Naruto always loved to rest his head on. Seeing Naruto stare at her undressing, she can't help but smile and crawl over to him suggestively, making his eyes follow the way her ass moves from left to right. Well, remember 2 months ago when I asked you to use your sexy jutsu so we could have some fun that way? She asks as she gets close to him and starts taking off his shirt, making sure to feel him up as she does so. Yeah? Naruto asks, wondering where she's going with that question and undoing his ponytail to let his hair free. Lemon happened. Next day. I'm late. Kobayashi can be seen running around her and Naruto's room to try and get dressed, do her hair up into her signature ponytail and my glasses, where are they? She questions frantically until Naruto tries to calm her down by hugging her from behind. Calm down, I'll just take you to work today. He then picks up her glasses from the end table and places them on her face. I don't know why you still wear them, you haven't needed to for almost 4 years now. Kobayashi just huffs and crosses her arms indignantly. It's my signature, nothing says Kobayashi like the ponytail and glasses combo. She then uncrosses her arms and blushes. Besides, you said I look cute in them, she mumbles under her breath. Naruto just smiles. Well, I wasn't lying, he says as he nuzzles into her neck, getting a content sight from his beautiful wife. Come on, I'll make you breakfast, and you can go get our new dragon maid, he comments idly while putting his hair back into a ponytail, so it won't get in the way while cooking. Kobayashi's face immediately lights up hearing that and then nods excitedly. Yay, I can't wait to meet her again, now that I'm completely sober, she says, looking a bit sheepish at how blunt about her desire she was last night. You should go wake her up while I get started on something for all of us, Naruto says with a smile and walks out of their room. Alright, see you in a bit. Kobayashi then walks over to the room across the hall and knocks on the door. Who is it? A muffled voice asks from inside the room, followed by the shuffling of bedsheets. It's Kobayashi. Sorry about last night, I kind of lose my filter when there's alcohol involved, she said sheepishly. Can I come in? The bed sheets are once again ruffled as the dragon girl replies, sure. Kobayashi then opens the door, walks inside and closes the door behind her. Whew, I'm glad I didn't scare you off. She suddenly cuts herself off when she takes in the scene before her. It was Toru, their new maid, laid bare for all to see on top of the blanket. Her hair splayed out and slightly glowing due to the rays of the morning, giving her an almost divine appearance. Her bright red slitted eyes are half-lidded and filled with lust and desire. Lemon happened. The evening. Toru was currently passed out on the bed. Naruto and Kobayashi were sitting in the bed next to her. Toru currently had her arm around Kobayashi's lap, snoring softly. So, that whole thing happened, Naruto says from Kobayashi's right side. Yay, I honestly didn't expect it to happen so soon, maybe a week at least, Kobayashi replies, running her fingers through Toru's blonde hair. Well, what about work? You didn't exactly have time to call in sick while you were busy seducing our maid, he says to her with a snort. The SHH, she waves him off dismissively. I'm the best developer they have there, they won't get rid of me so easily, and it's not like I actually need to work, you make enough to feed a large family for 10 years and it not put dent, she says with a snort. Well, she was right between republishing Icha, Major A's pervy soul rest in peace, and owning a maid cafe, he does have more money than he knows what to do with. Meh, I guess you're right, now let's go to bed. I was supposed to teach Toru how to live in the human world today, but I guess we can do that together tomorrow, since you'd still be sick. Kobayashi just hums in agreement and faces towards Toru to cuddle with her, while Naruto spoons her from behind, wrapping his arm around her. Getting closer so that Kobayashi is comfortably sandwiched between her husband and her maid, she finally drifts off and Naruto follows soon after. Hopefully something productive actually happens tomorrow. Toru hadn't felt this warm and safe since she was just a small child and decides to snuggle in deeper for the extra warmth. When she finally opens her eyes, she's greeted by the sight of her mistress Kobayashi facing her, arms wrapped around her waist, still lightly snoring. Looking past Kobayashi, she could see her master Naruto pressed into his wife's back. She couldn't help but smile, though it's only truly been a day she was happy to have been found by the Uzumakis that night. "Oh Toru, you're awake already?" Looking over she sees Naruto sit up in their shared bed and yawn. "How'd you sleep last night?" "Good morning Lord Naruto, I slept very well, thank you," she replied, sitting up and bowing her head slightly, to which Naruto waves her off. Naruto slowly gets out bed so he doesn't disturb his still sleeping wife. "You don't have to do the whole Lord Naruto thing, you know," he says as he goes around putting on his pants and leaving himself shirtless. "No, I insist, you both saved me after all," she says with a small smile and tears welling up in her eyes. "I could have died if you both didn't show up that night." She is cut off by Naruto suddenly crossing the room and hugging her. "Hey now, don't worry about what ifs, you're here with us now, that's all that matters," he says soothingly while rubbing her back, then he smiles. "How about I teach you how to cook in the kitchen so we can make breakfast for Ms. Sleepyhead over here?" Toru just smiles brightly and gets up from the bed. "Yes sir," she exclaims excitedly while jumping up and performing a salute, causing her generous chest to jiggle and Naruto to awkwardly cough in his hand. You should probably put some clothes on, see we can get started." He then looks apologetic. "Sorry, the only clothes we have that can fit you is the maid uniform I gave you when we met, we'll get more for you later," he states as he leaves for the door. "Ah, that won't be necessary," Toru says as she starts to glow, and when it finally dies down, she is fully clothed in a maid uniform, but one that was different from the one he gave her before. She is now wearing a dark blue ankle-length dress with white frills at the end, a white short-sleeved shirt, a red tie, and a red belt with a bow at the back. She is also wearing white stockings with white sleeves that end just below her elbow, a white bonnet on her head, and her hair in twin tails. She also has her green dragon tail and horns on full display. Naruto goes over and inspects her. "Ooh, some kind of transformation magic," he mutters as he starts tugging on her dress, surprised that it feels like actual fabric. "It's a lot like the transformation jutsu from my world." "Yup. These are my scales, what do you think?" she asks, twirling around to give him a full view of her outfit. Naruto just smiles. "I think you look very beautiful Toru." He then walks up to her, hugs her from behind, while she is still twirling and whispers in her ear, "Now enough of the free show, we got breakfast to make, okay?" Toru blushes from both the compliment and his closeness to her, deciding to take a chance. She quickly turns around as his arms and kisses him on the cheek. "Thank you Lord Naruto, I promise to be the best maid I can for you and Lady Kobayashi." Naruto just holds her closer. "I know you will, now come on, breakfast ain't gonna make itself." With those final words he leads her out of the room and to the kitchen so they can make breakfast. 20 minutes later. When Kobayashi first woke to the blazing sun in her eyes, her first thought was that she was late for work, but upon remembering last night's events and the subtle ache between her legs, she relaxed. That's when she noticed the lack of either Naruto or Toru in the bed and the heavenly scent coming from the kitchen. Getting up and getting dressed in just her unbuttoned dress shirt, panties and her glasses, she goes out towards the kitchen. When she arrives she sees her husband and maid plating some bacon and eggs, her favorite. "Good morning you two," she greets them as she walks up and kisses both on the cheek, then sits at the table, causing Naruto to smile and Toru to blush. "Good morning Lady Kobayashi, how did you sleep last night?" Toru asks while setting a plate down in front of her mistress. "Oh? So that lord and lady stuff wasn't just bedroom talk?" Kobayashi asks with a raised eyebrow, "And I slept well by the way, thank you." "No, it wasn't milady, you and Lord Naruto saved me from certain death that night, so I am forever in your debt," she says as she puts down the rest of the plates. "If you say so, but just refer to us as Naruto and Kobayashi when we're in public," she says putting a bite of egg in her mouth, "otherwise people will give us weird looks." She suddenly lights up at the taste of the eggs. This doesn't taste the way Naruto usually makes them, but it's really good. "Did you make this Toru?" Toru just blushes with a shy smile. "Well, it's thanks to Lord Naruto for teaching me how to cook." "Nonsense, all I did was show you how to use the appliances so you didn't blow up all of our ingredients," Naruto says as he comes out from the kitchen while taking off his apron and smiling at the dragon girl. "You're a natural at cooking Toru, don't sell yourself short." Toru blushes and bows her head. "Thank you Lord Naruto." "Don't mention it, now let's dig and we gotta show you how to live in the world of humans," he says finally sitting down and eating, with Toru sitting down after. An hour later. Naruto, Kobayashi are currently walking down the streets of Tokyo showing Toru the sights, such as places to get food, clothes and other necessities, but when Toru doesn't seem comfortable with the department store, they take her to the shopping district. "Alright, this is the shopping district, would you seem to not like the department store?" Naruto asks. He's back to wearing his white dress shirt with the top 2 buttons undone with the sleeves rolled up, black pants, brown shoes, and a necklace with a green gem on it. He also has his hair back in a ponytail with 2 bangs framing the sides of his face. Toru gains a pensive look. It reminds me of a castle, especially the white walls. She then looks at the district they're in, whereas this place reminds me of the guild's bazaars. Toru is still wearing the same maid uniform she transformed into this morning, only now she had her tail hidden, but kept her horns out. Kobayashi, who is dressed in an untucked white collared shirt with a tan sweater over it, green pants and yellow shoes while also wearing her signature glasses and ponytail combo, just hums in agreement. Makes sense, you probably didn't have too great of an experience with those castles. Naruto just nods along with his wife, but then claps his hand to get both Kobayashi's and Toru's attention. Well, that's about it for the tour, we just have one last place to go. Toru just tilts her head in question, where would that be? Naruto just smiles broadly, the Maid Cafe I own of course. He then grabs Toru's hand, making her blush a little and turns around, come on it's just around the corner. Kobayashi just smiles and grabs the dragon maid's hand also, much to the dragon girl's delight, and follows after Naruto. Normally I don't like maid cafes due to them watering down what a true maid is, but I make an exception for Naruto's, it has a real homey feel to it. Toru was only half listening as she stared at her hands being held by Naruto and Kobayashi and thought to herself, nothing could ruin this moment. Unknown to the 2 females of the group there is a small child hiding behind a pole watching them, though she quickly ducks her head behind the pole again as Naruto turns his head and looks in her direction. That man he's strong, she thinks to herself then peeks around the pole again to look at Toru, I'll save you from them Lady Toru. Another dragon huh? Naruto ponders in his mind, though this one feels like lightning, while Toru feels like fire. Do dragons just have different elemental affinities like Shinobi did? Ah well, problems for the future, she doesn't seem hostile. Naruto shrugs his thoughts off as they round a corner and he sees his cafe coming up and he smiles while turning around to face Toru, welcome to Maid by Maids the Pia. Naruto's introduction is cut off by a shout of exertion and a man being thrown out of the restaurant, followed by a young woman dressed in the same uniform he had originally given Toru when they met. The woman has light brown hair that barely reaches past her shoulders and emerald green eyes, though they are currently hidden as she has her face in a sickly sweet smile. So sorry sir, but we are not that kind of establishment, so I must ask you to leave. DCH, you think I'm scared of yo? The man's rant is suddenly cut off as quicker than he could react the woman blurs behind him and immediately suplexes him onto the pavement, knocking him out instantly. The woman then gets up and dusts off her hands. I'm sorry you feel that way sir, but please abide by our rules. She then turns and sees Naruto's group and puts on a smile. Oh Mr. Naruto and Miss Kobayashi, welcome back. She then looks at the blonde girl behind them, and who might this be? Naruto and Kobayashi just sweat drop at the scene before them. After a few seconds Naruto finally speaks up, hello Nay, another problem customer huh? Yes sir, but it was nothing me and the other girls couldn't handle, she replies with a bright smile. You hit well this is Toru, she's Kobayashi and I's new maid, and I brought her here so she could work part-time. Naruto says as he brings Toru in front of him, Toru, this is Nei Sakawa or Georgie, as she likes to be called, she's the head maid of the cafe, and one of only 2 people on earth that can match Kobayashi when it comes to maids. The now named Georgie slightly bows her head in Toru's direction, nice to meet you Miss Toru, she then looks at Naruto and Kobayashi and pouts, if you two wanted a maid you could have asked me you know. Raiko is already in grade school and doesn't need me as much anymore. Kobayashi brightens up, you can if yo. Naruto immediately cuts her off, like we said before, wait till you finish college first. Besides Toru is more of a live-in maid, and Raiko is still too young to be at home by herself. He then gives a pointed look to Kobayashi and whispers in his wife's ear, you just want her in bed with us, don't you? Kobayashi just huffs and looks away and replies, what? She's cute, you can't blame a girl for trying, to which Naruto just sighs and Toru looks at both of them confused. Anyway, like I said before I need you to train Toru in the ways of being both a traditional maid and a cafe maid. Can you do that for me? He asks Georgie who gains a mischievous glint in her eye at his request. Of course Mr. Naruto, I don't mind at all, however she looks to Kobayashi, I would like to ask for Miss Kobayashi's assistance, as 2 heads are better than 1, she says with a smile, while Kobayashi gets the same look in her eyes. Naruto, either not sensing or ignoring their intent just shrugs, alright sure, I'll be working in the kitchen today, so holler at me if you need anything. Yes sir, Georgie then looks at Toru, come Miss Toru, Miss Kobayashi and I have a lot to teach you. Toru just gulps at the look and tone Georgie gives her, and she's about to protest until Kobayashi puts a hand on her shoulder. Yes, let's go Toru. Kobayashi then leans forward and whispers in her ear, if you're a good girl during training, I'll be sure to have Lord Naruto reward you tonight. Toru just blushes and nods at her words, yes mistress. I'll be good. She stutters out and allows herself to be led to a back room where the three of them won't be disturbed. Naruto looks at the trio as they walk away with a tilt of his head. Why do I feel like I sentenced Toru to something horrible and pleasurable at the same time? After a few seconds he just shrugs to himself, meh, oh well it can't be that bad, Georgie's there so Maiko won't get too wild. With that final thought he went into the cafe and started preparing food for customers. The back room. Is this really necessary for becoming a maid? Toru asks hesitantly, this seems a bit excessive. Of course this is necessary Miss Toru, Georgie replies a bit too sweetly in Toru's opinion. Mr. Naruto tasked me with teaching you all about being a maid, and while I personally have never done this particular lesson myself, I've read a lot about it in books. Exactly Toru, this is definitely what true maids have to go through, especially those with powerful masters like Naruto. Kobayashi affirms confidently. Toru just sighs, then looks up from her kneeling position. Well I can at least understand Lady Kobayashi but she then looks at Georgie, why are you undressing too? Georgie, who already had her top off revealing a blue lace bra covering a modest pair of breasts and was in the middle of undoing her skirt, well, as head maid, it is my duty to teach the newer ones is it not? She then lets her skirt fall to the ground, revealing a matching set of panties. Kobayashi just nods in agreement, she is already down to just a white tube top and matching underwear, with a small design of a lion on the front. She's right Toru, and you know. Kobayashi then goes up to a kneeling Toru, squats behind her whispers in her ear and starts kneading her breasts, getting soft moan from Toru. Me and Naruto's first threesome was supposed to be with Georgie after she graduated from college and moved in as our maid. Kobayashi starts nibbling on Toru's ear. But when you showed up that night I knew I had to jump on the opportunity since it would move up our plans, so Georgie and I will have to thank you for that. Georgie settles right in front of Toru and lifts the dragon's chin up so their eyes can meet. Yes Miss Toru, thanks to you Lord Naruto will be easier to persuade to have a relationship with me. After Georgie says this, she brings in Toru for a kiss and lifts the dragon girl's dress, leaving her naked. Oh no underwear. How naughty of you. Georgie chuckles. Toru moans out as Kobayashi goes back to massaging her breasts and pinching her nipples while also sucking on her neck, and Georgie starts to move her hand towards Toru's womanhood. It's not like that, I felt no need to create underwear, since those were just my scales. This statement causes Georgie to stop and look at Toru confused. Scales? She asks with a tilt of her head. I'll tell you later, Kobayashi says from behind Toru dismissively. Right now it's time for Toru's reward for moving my plans up a couple years, she says with a grin as she makes Toru lean back and spread her legs, showing off her wet pink beep. Oh my, did the idea of me and Miss Kobayashi having our way with you excite you that much? Georgie asks with a hand on her cheek and the other rubbing up and down Toru's slit, causing the dragon maid to get wetter and breathe harder. Since Lord Naruto will get suspicious if we take too long I'll make sure this is quick, but don't you worry, Georgie leans forward and whispers in Toru's ear, while slowly inserting her middle finger into Toru's soaked cunt, since you're going to be working here part-time from now on. We'll have lots of study sessions together Toru finally gasps out and leans back into Kobayashi when Georgie's finger gets knuckle deep into her. The head maid starts moving her finger in and out and lays down, so her face is right up against Toru's beep, her breath tickling the dragon's aroused clit. Moving in closer Georgie gives Toru's cunt a long and sensual lick that ends at the clitoris that she kisses, lovingly. Wow you taste so sweet, with a hint of spiciness. I'm definitely going to enjoy working with you from now on. MMMPH was all Toru could respond with as Kobayashi had decided to lay claim to the inside of her mouth with her tongue. The two appendages danced in their mouths with Kobayashi's being the dominant one, but the tongue wrestling was cut short when Toru let out a strangled gasp. The reason? Georgie decided that one finger wasn't enough, so she added a second one and her tongue, all while using her thumb to rub the engorged clit. This stimulation finally sent Toru over the edge as she proceeded to thumb in Georgie's mouth, and the head maid greedily slurped up her release. Georgie lifts her head from between Toru's legs and crawls to get closer, mouth glistening from Toru's juices. She leans in and kisses Toru, letting her taste her own essence before doing the same to Kobayashi. I'll definitely never get tired of that taste. Good job in giving Toru her reward Georgie, Kobayashi says, licking her lips. Thank you for your kind words Milady, I aim to please, she replies with a slight bow of her head. Now Miss Toru, let's get you cleaned up and I can show you how to work at the cafe. She then comes back with a towel and a spare uniform. Here's the uniform since I don't think you came with one. A still panting Toru just shakes her head. There's no huff need for that, she denies as she begins to glow much to the shock of Georgie. When Toru is done she is in the maid cafe uniform. Georgie just looks to Kobayashi and asks, is she like Lord Naruto? Kobayashi just nods her head, yay, but from a different world than his. Toru is actually a dragon hence why she said scales earlier. Oh my, is all Georgie says as she puts a hand on her cheek. Wait, how does Georgie know about Lord Naruto being from another world? Toru asks, confused, as she thought Naruto would want to keep something like that a secret. Ah, well, you see, Naruto and I have known Georgie for about a year now, and she was actually the first to show up and get hired by the cafe, Kobayashi responds as she gets dressed. Naruto's not really one to keep secrets from those close to him, and since he can sense when someone has negative intent, he felt he could trust Georgie with his secret, she say, putting on her tan sweater on. Yes, when he first told me I didn't believe him, but then he summoned all those clones. She trails off with some blood running down her nose. Wow, she's just like Lady Kobayashi, Toru thinks to herself as she sweat drops at Georgie going into a perverted daydream. Yup, and since that day we've been planning for Georgie to move in with us and become our maid and something more, but like I said before, thanks to you our plans moved ahead by years, so thank you for that, Kobayashi says as she sends a small smile to Toru, who blushes under the thanks. Georgie wipes the blood from her nose, and now that she is fully dressed, she turns to Toru, come Miss Toru, I still have to teach you how to greet customers and wait tables. Yes ma'am, I won't call anyone master unless they're Lord Naruto and Lady Kobayashi though. She exclaimed stubbornly. This just gets a chuckle out of Georgie, that's fine, the customers will probably just see you as a tsundere, people love that nowadays, she comments easily. Toru just looks at Georgie confused, tsundere. Just pretend you don't like them, trust me they'll love it, Kobayashi explains to her, patting her on the shoulder. Humans are weird, Toru says, getting a giggle from both Georgie and Kobayashi, as all three leave the back room. Yeah, we are, but that's what makes life fun, Kobayashi says with a fond smile. Well, you two have fun, I'm going to go see Naruto in the kitchen really quick, to which both Georgie and Toru bow slightly to Kobayashi as she walks towards the kitchen to see her husband, and Georgie leads Toru to the employee lounge so she can meet her future co-workers. The kitchen. Walking into the kitchen, Kobayashi sees her husband making several batches of omurice all at once, flipping them into plates. It was always interesting watching him work in the kitchen, he always gets so focused and serious, like a lion planning out his hunt. She internally laughs at the comparison, over the years Naruto seemed to have transformed from a tricky fox to a noble and mature lion. Shaking herself out of her musings, she calls out to him, "Yo Naruto, having fun?" She asks with a smile on his face. After plating the last dish, he looks over to his wife and smiles, "Yay, it feels nice to cook here from time to time, instead of just being the manager." He walks up to his wife and brings her into a hug, but suddenly moves out the hug and holds her by the shoulders. Really? With Georgie too? He deadpans at her. "I have no regrets," she says with no hesitation, "and Georgie and I have been planning this for almost a year now." Toru just sped things up a bit, she confesses simply. Naruto just sighs and shakes his head, isn't the man supposed to be the one adding girls to the harem? That's how all those manga you read go, right? Kobayashi just shrugs her shoulder, meh, you take too long. The last shinobi just deadpans again, "That's because one man having multiple women isn't exactly normal," he replies with a twitching eyebrow. "To be fair, you aren't exactly normal yourself," she says with a grin on her face, to which Naruto just sighs again, replies with a small touche. He then looks up at her, "I still say we wait till she graduates college first before we hire her on." Kobayashi nods her head in acceptance stipulation, then grabs his cheek and pulls him into a kiss, "Sounds fair. Now, I'ma head home and take a nap, and I'll see you and Toru at home, okay?" Naruto kisses her back and touches his forehead against hers, "Okay, I'll see you later, love you Maiko." "Love you too Naru," and with one last peck on the lips she leaves the cafe, saying goodbye to both Georgie and Toru on the way out. As she's walking home she doesn't notice the same little girl from before watching her leave and then following after. "Don't worry Lady Toru, I'll make sure to save you from those two, then we can go home together," were the young girl's thoughts as she followed after Kobayashi, making sure she's not spotted. Uzumaki apartment. When Kobayashi got to her and Naruto's shared apartment, she got changed into a more comfortable pink tank top with no bra under, a necklace with a red gem, similar to Naruto's, and took off her pants, so she is only wearing her white panties with a lion design on the front. She is currently laying down on the couch browsing the internet on her phone and waiting to fall asleep for her nap when she hears a knock on the door. Sigh, great, now I have to put on pants, ugh, she internally gripes and quickly moves to her room to put on a baggy pair of sweatpants, then goes to the door. When she opens the door she is mildly surprised to see a small girl, looking maybe 8 or 9, standing at her door wearing a white capelet with a fur collar, a pink shirt, a white frilly skirt, white stockings and pink shoes. Her white lavender hair that ends with purple tips is done in 2 pigtails, each having 3 beads and a black bow on top. The last thing that Kobayashi notices is the 4 white horn protruding from the sides of her head, her blue slitted eyes, and finally the thin light purple tail that ends in a ball. Yup, definitely a dragon and a goth lowly one too. Kobayashi internally deadpans, she's probably friends with Toru too, so I might as well invite her in. A few minutes later the both of them are sitting across from each other in silence. "So what's your name?" Kobayashi asks awkwardly, only to get a piercing stare from the small girl. "Release Lady Toru from your custody," the girl demands. Confused, Kobayashi replies, "Huh, Lady Toru. I know you and that man have seduced her with your bodies. Well, you're not exactly WR. You cuck. Wah. Slut in glasses. Now wait a minute, I've only been with one man." Kobayashi begins to argue, but is cut off by the loli getting close and pounding on her with small fists. "Let her go. Give her back." The little girl yells as her hit seemed to do no damage to the older woman. "Maiko. We're home." Naruto yells out as he and the mentally exhausted Toru walk through the door, though they both pause at the sight of Kobayashi, holding a small girl an arm's length away from her. "Eh? A goth loli? That's what I've been sensing all day?" Naruto asks with a raised eyebrow. "Panda, what are you doing here?" A surprised Toru asks, making Naruto look at her. "You know her?" he asks as he goes to Kobayashi and picks up Kana by the scruff her neck and sets her down next to Toru. "Yes, this is Kana Kamui, she's a friend of mine from my previous world," Toru says, finally introducing the small dragon girl. "Though I'm surprised you were able to find me, Kana. I saw you and those two walking around by luck earlier today, but Lady Toru, why are you wearing that outfit?" Kana asks, then she grabs hold of Toru's hands. "Please come back home with me, I need you." Toru just shakes her head with a small smile. "I'm sorry Kana, I can't go back with you." Panda's face falls, "But why?" That's because Toru immediately hops up and points to Naruto and Kobayashi. "I'm in love with Lord Naruto and Lady Kobayashi." She then blushes with a shy smile on her face. "I'm also their ever-loyal sex slave." Kobayashi starts laughing, and Naruto does a spit take and says, "Oh oi, what are you say?" "I knew it." The lowly dragon says, immediately standing up, "I saw the two of you pull Lady Toru into that weird building." She states, pointing at the two of them, "It must be some type of sex shop, you perverts." "Now hold on, it's a cafe." "Oi, stop laughing, Kobayashi," Naruto says, trying to defend himself while his wife is now on the floor laughing. "Now I must kill you two and free Lady Toru." Kana then lunges at the two of them. "Die." Only for her charge to be stopped by Naruto, who once again grabs her by the scruff of her neck. "Alright, that's enough of that, little one," and Kana tries to struggle out of his grip but eventually just hangs limply in his grasp, panting hard. Kana, why do you seem so weak?" Toru asks after Naruto puts her down again, clearly confused since she knows her friend is way stronger than this. "Why are you still strong, Lady Toru? The mana purity in the air is too low in this world." She then squints her eyes, focusing on Toru. "You even feel stronger than before," Kana says in response to Toru's question. "Ah. That's because of Lord Naruto's mana, he's a god, you know," Toru says, happy to praise her master. "He spent all last night injecting it into me over and over again, not to mention just standing next to him, strengthens me too." Hearing this, Kobayashi, who just calmed down, bursts out laughing again. "Hey Naru, does she mean?" she asked her husband, whose eyebrow was twitching. Yes, she does," he answers with a sigh and a shake of his head, but his head snaps up as he hears the rest of their conversation. "Ooh, amazing." Kana's eyes light up. "Do you think he'll do the same with me?" she asks innocently. "Maybe, you should ask him," Toru responds, but is cut off by Naruto. "No. Absolutely not," Naruto yells, and both dragons turn to flustered Naruto and a Kobayashi that's gripping her side with tears in her eyes from laughing so hard. When Naruto calms down, he looks at the two of them. "Toru, I'm not injecting mana into Kana that way, okay? Just no." Kana then walks up to him and puts on a sad but cute face. "But why not, do you hate me?" she asks with tears welling up in her eyes. Looking at her face, Naruto feels like he just kicked a puppy. "Aw damn it, I made her cry. Come on Naruto, think of something." He then puts his hand on her head and starts rubbing it. "I don't hate you Kana, it's just." He trails off. "You're too young Kana," Kobayashi says for Naruto, "and the way he shared mana with Toru is for adults that care for each other, you're not ready for that yet." He looks over to her wife and gives her a grateful nod, then he looks back to Kana. "Though there is a different way I can give you mana if you want it," he says, making the young dragon look up at him. "How?" she asks, only to get a grin from him. "This is how." Naruto then concentrates his chakra to his hand and changes it to lightning nature, which he then passes into Kana, who can instantly feel her mana refilling and even becoming stronger than before. What was all the little dragon could say as she felt more powerful than she ever had before. The shinobi then moves his hand and smiles at her. "Feel better now?" "MMHMM," she says as she nods her head up and down. "Your mana is warm." Naruto just chuckles. "So I've been told." Suddenly a growl comes from Kana's stomach, causing her to stiffen and hold her stomach. "Hungry?" she mutters, getting another small laugh from Naruto. "How about I make something for you?" "How about Hamburg steak?" he asks with a small smile and a pat on her head. Okay, she says lowly to herself and Naruto guides her to the dinner table and sits her down. Just wait right here, I'll have it out for you in a bit, he says as he heads to the kitchen to make food for all of them. Kobayashi and Toru then sit in the seats across from Kana. So Kana, now that you've found Toru, what are you going to do now? Kobayashi asks to at least start a conversation while Naruto prepares food. Kana just looks down sadly at the table and apostrophe T go back, she mutters. I'm sorry, what was that? Kobayashi asks as she leans in to try and hear her better. I can't go back, she says a little louder, I was exiled for pulling a prank. And Kana always did love pulling pranks now that I think about it, but to exile her over one is a little extreme. Toru comments with a finger on her chin. I've been there before, Naruto suddenly says from the kitchen. I can't even tell you the number of times people wanted me kicked out my home village because of the pranks I pulled when I was a kid. You were a prankster too, Lord Naruto? Toru asks in disbelief. Kobayashi just snickers. Oh, he still is. About a year ago I had a manager that tried to run me ragged. He would do all he could to trip me up, move up deadlines, force his work on me, even saying I did some work wrong. She then smiles fondly. Let's just say when I told Naruto about it, he didn't appreciate it. Naruto just scoffs. You're right about that, I made sure whenever he walked he tripped on his face, and whatever coffee he drank was either laced with laxatives or just straight up ink. Then he smiles cruelly. Let's just say that guy doesn't work there anymore. Kana just looks at him in awe. Amazing. Naruto preens at her praise. I know, right? I'm pretty awesome. Remind me to tell you how I managed to paint the stone monument of my village leaders in broad daylight sometime. Oh, the food's done, be right back. Kana just turns to look at Toru. Naruto is pretty cool, lady Toru. Toru, not missing a chance to praise one of her masters, agrees wholeheartedly. HMPH, what else did you expect from one of my masters? Looking at Toru just makes Kobayashi chuckle, and then she turns to Kana. Hey Kana, she says to get the young dragon's attention, since you can't go back, why don't you just stay with us? I'm sure Naruto won't mind either. She states, making Kana go wide-eyed. I won't, Naruto replies easily, setting one plate hamburg steak down in front of Kana and the rest around the table for Kobayashi, Toru and himself. You're definitely welcome to stay here, Kana, he says, giving her a smile and patting her head. Hearing this from both of them, Kana starts to tear up. How do I know you both aren't trying to trick me? Humans can't be trusted. Naruto just smiles and picks her up into his arms. Well, it's a good thing me and Kobayashi aren't exactly humans anymore, he says with a bright smile. Looking for any hint of a lie or deceit in his eyes and finding none, Kana finally lets her tears fall, and she clings on to Naruto, who pats her on the back, soothingly whispering that it'll be okay, with Kobayashi getting up from her seat and joining in comforting Kana. Toru just looks at the scene with a fond smile on her face. Once again I am grateful, these are the two I fell in love with. 30 minutes after dinner. The residents of the Uzumaki apartment are getting ready to go to bed, or in Kana's case already sleeping. Poor girl must have been running on fumes if she passed out like that after dinner, Naruto mused to himself as he laid in bed with just his underwear on next to his wife that was back to wearing only a tank top with panties. Yeah, she did say she was watching us all day, so it must have been from that, she says before she looks up at Naruto. Speaking of Kana, seeing you so tender and loving with her made my motherly instincts go wild. I think I want you to put a kid in me now, she trails off, snuggling closer to his side and running a finger over his chest. Me too. Toru, who was in the hallway when she heard them, bursts into the room only wearing an oversized green t-shirt that barely went past her ass with a small 4-leaf clover design on her left breast. Kana has always been like a little sister to me since we first met, and seeing you care for her so much awoke something in me. Naruto, who was wide-eyed at the confession of both Kobayashi and Toru, just sighed and shook his head. Can we leave all this kid talk for later? Kana just moved in with us, and she's still young, so why don't we wait till she gets older? Both women frown a little at this, but then Kobayashi gains a haughty grin. Oh, now I know the reason you want to wait, you just want to make sure you knock Georgie up at the same time as both me and Toru. She accused with a smug smirk on her face. Wow, Naruto, how naughty of you. Toru's eyes go wide at this revelation and looks at her master. Is this true, Lord Naruto? Naruto just deadpans in their direction. No, it's not. He then scoots over, so Kobayashi is in the middle of the bed and he's on the edge. Since you're here, Toru, get in bed so we can go to sleep. Nah, I'm all riled up, and just because you can't put a baby in me and Toru right now doesn't mean we can't practice, Kobayashi says as she sits up and one of the straps of her tank top falls off her shoulder. She then looks over at Toru, who is still standing by the bed. I'll let you take the lead tonight, Toru, since you were such a good girl. Well, Georgie and I were training you today. Toru perks up at this. Thank you, Lady Kobayashi. I'll do my best, she says and gets to the other side of Naruto. So I get no say in this, do I? He asks rhetorically. Kobayashi just raises an eyebrow at him while she goes towards his lap. And if you did, what would you say? Naruto just looks at the want in Toru's red eyes. "I'd say hell yes," he says before bring Toru into a kiss that she readily returns, and Kobayashi gains a smirk before she slips off his underwear and start pumping his already hardening beep. Lemon happened. "Fuck yes, that's what I wanted." Kobayashi then turns her head to the side and deeply kisses her blonde husband while he spills his seed into her. Breathing hard, the two of them separate. "Fuck. You and Toru have no right to be that fuckable. It felt like I was an animal in heat," Naruto says as your pupils go back to the normal blue with no slits. "Yeah, you definitely went wild, and I think Toru was affected too, she's still passed out," Kobayashi says as the points to a still unconscious Toru laying on the bed. Naruto winces a bit. "I should probably heal her," he says as he goes over to her and places his hand with the white sun mark on her forehead. After a few seconds Toru awoke with a deep gasp and she slowly sits up rubbing her head. "Ugh, what happened?" she asks, but the suddenly recent events flash in her mind and she put a hand over her currently full womb. "Sorry for being so rough with you, Toru, I don't know what got to me," Naruto apologized sheepishly while rubbing the back of his head. Toru just shakes her head rapidly. "You don't have to apologize, Lord Naruto, I actually liked it a lot," she mutters the last part to herself, but she is still heard by Naruto who just smiles. "I'll take your word for it then, now let's get cleaned up before we actually head to bed this time," Naruto says going to get towels from the bathroom that's connected to the room. While he's gone, Kobayashi goes up to Toru and whispers in her ear, "So, how'd it feel to be taken like that, did you like it?" she asked a dragon with a bit of mischief in her voice, causing Toru blush. I loved it, Lady Kobayashi, he was so wild," Toru says as she shudders in pleasure at the recent memory, especially how Naruto's eyes changed to that of a predator as he took in the form of her body. "I know, right, now you're a part of our family, so expect that to happen a lot, especially if you're a good girl," Kobayashi says putting her finger under Toru's chin. "Yes milady, I'll be good," Toru stutters out. "Good." Just as their small conversation finishes, Naruto comes back in the room with towels so they can clean up. Meanwhile in the guest room, their newest family member, Kana, was blissfully unaware of what took place in the room across from her as she was in a deep and heavy sleep. 5 minutes later. After finally getting clean and putting on their nightwear again, they are once again laying in bed, but with Naruto in the middle, and Kobayashi and Toru on either side of him snuggled into his sides. Toru then wraps her tail around both Naruto and Kobayashi under the blanket. But before they could truly settle down and sleep, Toru suddenly speaks up, Lord Naruto, what did you mean at dinner when you told Kana that both you and Lady Kobayashi aren't human anymore? I understand you, since I can feel the divine aura from you, but what about Lady Kobayashi?" Naruto just looks at Toru. "Well, remember when you told Kana I was injecting mana into you?" Toru just blushed at her overexcitement and telling her small friend how she got stronger and nods her head. "In my world, instead of mana we call it chakra. I specifically have a lot of yang chakra, which is essentially pure life force." He then looks at her and asks, "You following me so far?" To which Toru nods. Naruto then coughs into his closed fist. "Let's just say after the first time Kobayashi and I got together I did a lot of injecting, if you know what I mean. Good times, I almost missed a week of class and a final because of that, especially after he told me he could control his fertility," Kobayashi remembers fondly. "Yeah, we kinda went crazy," Naruto chuckled sheepishly. "We did it everywhere, the bed. The couch," Kobayashi responds. "The floor. Against the wall. In the kitchen. In the bathtub. The forest. The ceiling. Midair. Ooh, we should do that one again, it was fun," Kobayashi says with a giggle. While the husband and wife duo were reliving their sex escapades, Toru was blushing up a storm. "Whoa, Lord Naruto and Lady Kobayashi are amazing." The two then continued to recount everywhere and every way they'd done it for 2 more hours until all 3 of them finally fell asleep for the night. Next morning. When Naruto woke up, he felt a weight on his chest. Thinking it was Kobayashi's head, he just rubbed his hands through her hair until he heard what could only be described as purring and felt horns. Finally looking down, he saw Kana curled up on his chest like some sort of cat, so she snuck in during the middle of the night, huh? He thought while continuing to rub the small dragon's head, getting another purr. Having fun. Hearing a voice, Naruto looks to the side to see Kobayashi looking at him pet Kana with a grin on her face. "As a matter of fact, I am, you should try it sometime," he says in reply as he starts scratching the tiny dragon's head, making her sigh in comfort. Kobayashi reaches over and starts petting Kana as well. "Wow, her hair is really soft and she's really cute and pudgy." "Yay." Naruto then gently lifts Kana up and places her in between Kobayashi and himself on the bed. The married couple then snuggle up to Kana and hold her close between them. 30 minutes later. Toru, who had gotten up early to make breakfast for her masters and Kana, came into the room. "Lord Naruto, Lady Kobayashi." Breakfast is ready. Call for food, however, is cut off by the side in front of her. It was Naruto and Kobayashi sleeping while cuddling with a lightly snoring Kana that was holding on to a few locks of Naruto's long hair. Toru just smiles and slowly goes up to the bed at Kobayashi's side and transforms back into her sleepwear from last night. She then crawls into bed next to Kobayashi, snuggling into her mistress's back and gently wraps her tail around all three of them. Breakfast can wait a few more hours. Chapter end. Alright, that's it for today's video guys. Let me know in the comments section how was the story, and also don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I will meet you in another video. Peace out.